Greetings ladies and gentlemen, Adrian here. Welcome back to the channel and to another MMO new player review, and this time it's for Neverwinter. Neverwinter is a Dungeons & Dragons action MMORPG developed by Cryptic Studios and was released in 2013. It's also completely separate from Dungeons & Dragons Online, which is run by Standing Stone Games. Now that you know a little bit about Neverwinter, let's get into the review from a new player's perspective. I jumped in for a month to level from 1 to 70, having not played since release, to find out if this MMO is indeed worth playing. You'll find a link to my past leveling livestream playlist in the description box below, which is where you'll probably see how I arrived at the conclusions found in this review. I'm also reviewing Neverwinter as an MMORPG and not as a Dungeons & Dragons game. If you have not played Neverwinter, are there any reasons to check it out? What's fun and what's not? Let's get some answers. So let's start with an important question. Is Neverwinter free to play? Yes, it's free to play. All you need is to create an account, download the launcher, or grab it on Steam to start playing. My total download size on the PC was in the range of 12 gigs, so it's not as big as other AAA MMOs. Also important to note, Neverwinter is available on both the Xbox and PlayStation, thus it gets a thumbs up for accessibility. But just exactly how free is it as a new player? Well, you get all the content, past, present, and future, absolutely free. You also start with limited character and bag slots, but so does everyone else unless they spend some Zen to unlock more. The potential downside of being a free-to-play MMO, which some of you might take issue with, is that the game needs to make money somewhere, and there is heavy reliance on microtransactions in the cash shop. Within the game's Zen store, you'll find all kinds of things ranging from mounts to companions to extra bags, and of course, loot box keys for the millions of different loot boxes that Neverwinter introduces with every content update. I'm exaggerating, of course, but there's some truth to that. I mean, they do drop like candy in-game, and there's also a big announcement that flashes across your screen every time someone earns something cool, like a legendary mount from opening a box. It's gutter tactics to try and get you to spend some money, but hey, how strong is your willpower? And how fat is your wallet? There's VIP time that you can buy as well, and it works like a subscription, giving you some perks such as increased XP gain, and the perks do get better the longer you stay VIP, as there's a rank system in place. And for those of you that want to pick something up from the store but don't want to spend a dime, Neverwinter does give you an alternative. You can use the currency exchange to sell your precious Astral Diamonds to buy Zen, the currency you'll need for the store. If you do your Astral Diamond dailies diligently, you should be able to buy a month of VIP, but it's gonna be a hard grind. So let's talk about some gameplay. And one of the things that critics often say about Neverwinter at release is that it's got a pretty good combat system. Does it really? And if so, how does it hold up in 2017? Neverwinter's combat system is of the action variety, and if you've played other MMOs like Terra or the recently relaunched Secret World Legends, then it'll be pretty familiar to you. It uses a reticle system for targeting and left and right mouse buttons for basic attacks known as at-will powers. As your character grows, you'll get to use more combat abilities such as encounters and daily powers that you can fire off with fully remappable hotkeys. So here's what I like about the combat system. For me at least, it definitely feels fast and fluid with decent looking animations and combat effects that'll be unique to each class in the game. There's a hack and slash quality to it that I certainly appreciate, as it's the one thing that keeps me engaged when the quality of content I'm currently doing turns boring. I also like that Neverwinter doesn't give you a crap ton of skill slots to bloat with all your skills. You only get a certain amount of encounter slots and 2 daily power and basic slots to utilize, so that makes picking the right build with the right skills for the current situation pretty fun. And you do get to save builds as well to switch on the fly. There's also class mechanics that you should be aware of, in addition to a stamina bar to look out for. Needless to say, how much you'll enjoy the combat system, I think, will come down to your class. There are classic MMORPG archetypes in Neverwinter, such as tanks, healers, and DPSers, so your mileage may vary. And then there's companions in Neverwinter that do join you in your adventures who will participate in combat. You can have multiple companions, but only one can be summoned at any given time. They come in archetypes too, so a tanky companion will handle the adds, and healing ones will obviously heal you when fighting on the landscape or in dungeons. Companions have their own progression system and do level up as well, and can be sent for training to increase rank and effectiveness in combat. So in Neverwinter, traditional MMORPG progression applies, whereby your character earns experience points through combat and questing to level up, gaining skill points to unlock new abilities or power up existing ones, on top of earning attribute points every 10 levels-ish to bolster your base attributes depending on your class. And speaking of class, at level 26 you'll be able to specialize in one of two subclasses, allowing you to explore the varying capabilities of your chosen class. In addition to that, you also earn Paragon points every level, which can be spent in Paragon trees that again allows you to fine-tune the effectiveness of your class in certain areas like support, survivability, etc, etc. And I really like that. There's so much character customization available here, and for me that's a plus. As for gear progression, while leveling it really doesn't matter, as gear drops from almost everywhere that you can identify with scrolls to see if they're upgrades to what you currently have on. Of course, the best ones will drop in dungeons, so do that if you want the good stuff. At the level cap of 70, item level or item power comes into play, and you'll need to hit a certain item level or power to run the more difficult group content. To do that, you'll need to get the grind going and start working on ranking up your enchantments, artifacts, runestones, and your companions. There's also boons that you'll want to be aware of. Boons are permanent unlocks for your character that adds passive bonuses, and will differ depending on the source. You can unlock boons from the many campaigns that the game has, which will be incredibly linear, and I'll talk about that later. Guild strongholds are also a place to get them, so joining a guild that has a decked out stronghold with boons will be an advantage. Outside of character progression, currency is another thing you want to gradually progress, as unlike other MMOs, Neverwinter uses a central currency system with astral diamonds. See, you can earn gold in game, but from what I've experienced so far, it's not your main currency. Gold is almost secondary. You'll use it to buy potions, injury kits, and other stuff, but the most important currency will be astral diamonds because the game relies on that a lot. For instance, you'll be using AD to buy stuff off the auction house, or to get important upgrade components from the AD vendor for your slotted gear. The thing is, there's only a select number of daily activities that award them, such as daily dungeons, skirms, and PvP tasks, and you can only refine a certain amount of rough AD into spendable AD per day, so you definitely want to start farming that early on in your adventure. An important part of progression in most MMOs is the crafting system, in my opinion. Games that have rich, deep crafting systems make you feel involved and proactive in growing your character, either through the creation of shiny new powerful gear or reaching the max expertise in a certain crafting profession through the hours of harvesting labor out of the landscape. There's a sense of accomplishment there that I think us as players like. Unfortunately, Neverwinter's crafting system is the opposite. On your crafting panel, you select tasks from the various different professions, but these involve passive time-based activities, sort of like Star Wars The Old Republic's crafting system. Every profession will have levels, so the more you do, the more task slots you unlock, and the longer they take as well. Of course, to speed them up, you can spend your hard-earned astral diamonds to complete them instantly, as some of the tasks can take up to 16 to 20 hours to complete, so just logging off and checking back the next day becomes the norm. For me at least, this sort of crafting system is a turnoff, and while there is obvious benefits in maxing out a chosen profession like leadership or jewel crafting, as a new player it just didn't interest me, and I found it to be busy work and too passive in nature, so I'd rather just focus on something else. When it comes to PvE content in Neverwinter, I think it's safe to say you'll never run out of things to do. As soon as you're done with the tutorial, Sergeant Knox becomes your main primary contact for content in-game, and you'll be seeing him often to pick up new map quest chains to complete every few levels. You'll need to get used to that, as that's how questing works in Neverwinter for the vanilla game. Besides the main hub, Protector's Enclave, where you'll be doing all your banking and buying, there are about 13 linear maps outside of Neverwinter that you'll be chronologically sent to by Nox to complete its map story. In other words, a traditional MMO hub crawl. On these maps, you'll find NPCs who'll offer zone quests to do, and they'll probably lead you to a dungeon at the end. So how fun are these quests? Personally, not that fun. They're largely scripted, incredibly linear, a lot of back and forth between landscape and quest givers, and the quality of the quest objectives will test your attention span. 90% of these are kill and fetch quests, beginning with a certain map's lower rank enemies, and eventually you'll move up the chain to kill their leaders or bosses. The fetching largely involves moving around the maps to click on interactive objects. Look, all MMOs have fetch and kill quests, but some games diversify either through organic non-scripted events in the quest area or through a rich, engaging storyline that creates an illusion of urgency to get you invested, or even changing the title of the objectives to not say kill 0 out of 10 bandits. Neverwinter does none of the above, so thank goodness I find the combat fun, because that's how I persevered through most of the early maps. In addition to the quest hub crawl, Neverwinter has this thing called campaigns. They're largely vertical progression in nature and features a series of interlocked quests and dungeons that must be unlocked in a tree format. You'll do this by completing starter quest chains on new maps, doing dailies to earn campaign currency, and spending this currency to move up higher. Every new module, which are what content updates are called in Neverwinter, seems to come with a brand new campaign, and there's about 13 that you can do right now. Majority of them become available as you near level cap. What I like about campaigns are that they're fresh, new stories that takes players to brand new places, and the quality of everything increases significantly over anything in the vanilla game. The thing I hate about them is that they're grindy as heck. On the campaign panel, and assuming you've done the prerequisites, you can take on daily quests to earn campaign currency. Some are basic kill and fetch quests, and some, like in the Tyranny of Dragons campaign, let you do fun stuff like take down a dragon with other players in the area. Once you have enough currency, you then do tasks that are passive time sink waiting games that can take up to 20 hours to complete, and you'll need to finish 3 of them to advance higher. That's not exciting. On the other hand, campaigns offer you boons as well, so you'll definitely want to do them if you want your character to gain power. As a new player hitting the level cap for the first time, all these campaigns become unlocked, giving you access to a shit ton of daily grinds, and it can be overwhelming. To mitigate this, do some research beforehand, find the most rewarding campaigns to do in order that benefits your character, and get stuck into the dailies, I guess. Rounding up the content is the Foundry, which I'll talk about next, so that leaves me with PvP. Neverwinter has 2 types of PvP, a 5 vs 5 arena brawl called Domination, and a 10 vs 10 mode called Gondelgrim Battlegrounds. I've had some fun jumping into Domination. You run around and cap objectives and mindlessly spam your skills to try and take out the opposition. But that's about it. It's fun if you're playing casually. However, if you're competitive and want equal footing in PvP, you won't find this here. Players who spend money buying the best wards from the store to ensure they get the best in-slot upgrades for their gear will have a clear advantage over those who don't in PvP. If you don't like the sound of that, best to avoid the PvP here. One key feature that drew me into trying out Neverwinter at release is this thing called the Foundry. The Foundry is an in-game tool that allows players to create their own quests using readily available assets, and they can customize maps, create NPCs, make objectives and characters interactable for storylines, and even create dialogue for them. When completed, players can publish their custom-made quests so that other players in Neverwinter can see them in-game to try out. They can then leave reviews, feedback, and even tip the creator for a job well done. I remember back in 2013, the custom content community got pretty big, and I had so much fun making my own quests and putting my friends in them as NPC characters. If your quest met a certain requirement, it can even be selected for the daily Foundry task, which means players can finish your quests for some astral diamonds. And if you are that good, the developers would even highlight your stuff. Unfortunately, the Foundry in 2017, especially during the period I was reviewing and playing Neverwinter, is never online, which kinda explains why I'm using a 2013 screenshot of mine in the background. In the last couple of years, apparently, players found a way to exploit the Foundry for personal gain, and the developers are still fixing stuff and players hardly ever get access to it. The daily Foundry task has also been removed, which means content creators have no incentive to keep making quests, because players won't run them because there's no Astral Diamond rewards, and that's what everyone in this game is farming for. From a Dungeons & Dragons perspective, it kinda sucks that you can't be a DM as often as you used to, considering the Foundry is one of the main attractions of this MMO. I just hope it comes back soon and stays online consistently. Sticking with the gameplay theme, let's talk about dungeons and skirmishes in Neverwinter. Group content will be available to new players pretty early on, and as you progress through the game's play areas, you'll find that almost every map will culminate with a dungeon that ties into the map story. The same can be said about skirmishes as well, and the difference between the two is that dungeons consists of a 3-man party that progresses through multiple bosses, while skirmishes are 5-man groups that usually does something different, like fight off waves of enemies for instance. While leveling, I found that jumping into a dungeon or skirmish to break the questing and leveling monotony can be pretty fun, and it's a great place to muck around with your skills and builds as mob density increases as compared to questing on the landscape. And what's great is that the party finder takes little or no time at all to pop. You can find queues almost instantly around the clock. Dungeons also scale, so players of all levels can often be paired together, which probably explains why queues are pretty quick. But, and this is a pretty big but, from a new player perspective, doing dungeons for the first time while leveling using the random queues can be extremely frustrating because of how scaling works and how the developers insist on only rewarding daily Astral Diamonds through these random queues. You'll find yourself paired up a lot with level cap players, which might take some of the fun out of your dungeon experience, as I've found. That's because the existing player base only wants to get it done quickly, and you'll find yourself hardly contributing to the fights at all.
What the hell was that? Did we just kill the boss in one shot? That's BS. I just got down here. If you're a new player watching this and you're thinking to myself, this is the first time I'm doing this dungeon, and if that's what's gonna happen in queues, like you're not gonna, how's that fun? That's crazy. That's Serena is actually, what class is she? Is that a healing class? I don't know. That's okay. It's back Serena. Oh, Mouth of Madness. That it's an ugly SOB. All right, off you go, Serena. Let's see how fast you kill this one. I'm just gonna stand back and watch. Everybody's scaled down to 55, but I wonder if you're 70, you keep your 70 effectiveness, like all your gear and everything, it doesn't scale down, because that's the end result. But if you're a new player, solo player looking to pug this, and or if you want to get this done for the story and you're doing it for the first time, that can kill your enjoyment, man, because you're in a group with a bunch of 70s that don't care about that. They only, and to be fair, as I said earlier, if you are 70, that is your mindset. You'd be like, fuck it, I don't care. I want to get to the end because I want my daily AD. I don't care about the newbie. And the newbie is gonna go, that fucking sucks. I didn't do a damn thing, It's like, but so it's a double-edged sword. It's an easy run. You just get your AD and you get the fuck out of here. And at the same time, on the other side of the sword, it's like, there's no fun in this. I'm just, being carried by 70s and who won't wait, or who sucking the fun out of it if you want to do it on level and on challenge. So veterans will be happy with that, because any dungeon you get into right now, if you're geared, it's gonna be super easy. Just running through shit and just killing stuff in one blow. Yeah, your effectiveness is scaled down to like level 55, but so fucking what? One shot and it's dead, right? So why does it matter? You're getting your AD anyway. It's a weird thing. I don't know. It's a weird thing, for me at least.
Of course, this doesn't happen when you reach the level cap and have enough item level or item power to take on the harder difficulty dungeons, skirmishes, and trials. But as a new leveling player, just keep in mind that your enjoyment of fighting bosses in dungeons for the first time may be non-existent. But hey, at least you get your daily Astral Diamonds, I suppose. Onward to the aesthetics category now. Overall, Neverwinter as a whole is alright, and I don't mean that in a demeaning way. On the highest graphic settings, Neverwinter is okay, I guess. It doesn't blow me away, but it's not terrible either for a game made in 2013. And in comparison, there's a whole lot of newer free-to-play MMOs out there that looks a lot worse. I do like the game's UI design, and it's pretty simple on the eye, and a huge plus for me is that it's fully customizable. When it comes to authenticity of creature and location designs, I can't say if it's indeed lore appropriate or accurate to the world of Dungeons & Dragons, but I do appreciate that the game tries to offer you a varied experience from map to map. The environment and creature designs are cool, especially post-vanilla content and in some of the newer campaign maps. Moving on, let's talk about the social aspects of Neverwinter as an MMO. From a community point of view, Neverwinter is pretty decent in-game and out. In the game's main hub, Protector's Enclave, chat is always active with trade and bugs, and I found that players are generally helpful if you have questions. I like that there's a dedicated guild finder tool in-game, which has filtering, so it's pretty easy for players to search and join a guild that suits their playstyle. There's an inbuilt voice chat, which is another plus, although in my experience, group bugs hardly ever use it, but it's still nice to have, and its inclusion in MMOs these days are becoming a rarity, thanks to the rise of apps like Discord. On another note, I find Neverwinter to be pretty solo-friendly. Throughout my leveling from 1 to 70, I was perfectly fine playing through the vanilla content solo, as it's not that challenging, and there was no reliance on needing a group to progress in any areas of the vanilla game. Being part of the community as a solo player is not punishing at all, although you will miss out if you do not join a guild due to the stronghold boons and stuff, which will be pretty handy for endgame content. So I highly recommend getting involved in the community and getting into a guild, which will enrich your Neverwinter experience. Does Neverwinter have a main story? Yes, it does. As a new player, the game introduces you to the main quest arc during the tutorial, setting up the antagonist Valindra and her plot to destroy Neverwinter. After the tutorial, Sergeant Knox becomes your main point of contact for almost everything in-game related to questing, and he'll send you from map to map to complete the stories found there. Having played everything all the way up to 70, I have to say that the main story falls short, especially involving the primary quest arc. It feels like there's a lot of loose ends, it's discombobulated, and the game starts you on new story map or campaign chains without ending the old ones properly. It's all over the place and not satisfying for me. Especially for the vanilla game, the main villain they set up sort of just disappears and reappears out of the blue, and by then you're already deep in a certain map's storyline, so it all feels a little disjointed. Some of the writing too, it's cohesive in places, and in other parts it feels like they made up something for the sake of having a story. I am a story hunter in MMOs because it is a bridge to help new players like me get invested into the world, the setting, and the characters, and if that is engaging, I'll more than likely stick around to see how it progresses. Sadly, the vanilla content in Neverwinter doesn't offer that experience. They're great for XP and gear, and I find that players don't mind it at all because the main attraction seems to be the endgame group content in PvP. The quality of the stories do get better in the newer campaigns, however, so that is a redeeming factor. There's newer characters that actually have personality and are more memorable, and there's more cutscenes and voice dialogue for immersion too. But the better ones only come out at level 60 onward when you do get access to campaigns like Elemental Evil or Sharandar and Icewind Dale, so you'll have to slog through the vanilla content for a while to see the better stuff. So that's my comprehensive analysis and opinion of Neverwinter from a new player's perspective. In summary, Neverwinter offers a lot of content and things to do, which is great for a free-to-play MMORPG. Its combat system is definitely a highlight where other areas of the game fall short, and depending on what you're looking for in an MMORPG, this could either be a fun, casual game to play with friends or a grind fest. How you perceive it will be down to your preference as an MMO player. And that wraps up my review. So my question to you is, play it or avoid it? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy my content, and do subscribe to the channel for more MMO reviews and content. Once again, I'm Adrian, and I thank you for watching. Hey folks, welcome to the end screen. If you like that review and want to check out more MMO reviews, you can catch a new player review for The Elder Scrolls Online over here, and for Guild Wars 2 over here. If you like my content and want to stay updated on new videos, new reviews, you can subscribe to my channel by clicking the button in the middle over here. I'll see you guys at the next video.